Welcome to the sixth episode of Well, Lyrically Speaking.
where we dissect songs and discover implied inferences made by artists, singers, and songwriters. We are your hosts
Dyuti Agarwal,
and Kesar Behal.
deep diving into a song that holds such emotional gravity, evoking perplexing emotions from the listener.
Now, we know that we've been deviating from our main objective of actually analyzing lyrics, but we believe that it's worth noting that artists that surround these complex lyrics must be explored as well. And their backstory, their lives, their intentions, and it kind of reveals the type of music that they write and put out into the world, the main objective behind it.
Mhm.
After all, music is a form of expression, right? And it's highly influenced by emotions and perspectives about the world.
I love that perspective about it, and I think that's one of the main reasons we also want to branch out beyond just analyzing songs. So
Yeah.
now we're finally going to reveal who we're talking about. Lizzy McAlpine is an American singer-songwriter known for her insightful lyrics and folk pop music. Over time, she gained recognition through various social media platforms, such as YouTube and TikTok, with her heartfelt musical blend, including indie and folk music, which encapsulated the souls of many young musical minds.
Right, and her debut album, Give Me a Minute, was released in 2020. It includes numerous aspects of melodic and poetic storytelling, and she often explores themes of love, heartbreak, self discovery, nostalgia, which is directly linked to her intricate childhood and also influenced by her age and the passing of time.
Mhm. I feel like a lot of artists they explore the same ideas in their music, but I feel like Lizzie
Uh huh.
McAlpine, personally for me, is someone who kind of made the experience unique as a listener.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I see chemtrails in the sky, but I don't see the plane. What the hell is my problem with taking the blame? 'Cause I play with my food, and then someone else takes it away. It's so hard to believe, but I'm trying to change.
Lizzie McAlpine wrote Chemtrails as the 13th track of 5 Seconds Flat as a tribute to her father, who has created a significant impact on her life and music. The song explores themes of regret, the passage of time, and lingering feelings. And I think this can also be connected to the title. Kesar, do you want to add on?
Yeah, of course. So the title chemtrails refers to kind of like white streaks left by planes, which can symbolize unresolved feelings and unspoken memories that kind of evidently remain in her line of vision as they remain in the sky. Okay, so the lines, I see chemtrails in the sky, but I don't see the plane. I feel like Lizzie kind of demonstrates how she's able to see those white streaks, or rather, the fond memories that she's had with her father. I mean, she's able to see all these vivid memories and kind of as images, but the source is nowhere to be found, with the source being her father, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of conveys the lingering emotions within her childhood and kind of like unresolved conflicts from the past.
So,
Uh-huh.
what the hell is my problem with taking the blame? I like how Lizzie asks the audience and the listeners a question. It's kind of like involving the audience in the entire process of like understanding her emotions. Along with that, we also understand that Lizzie McAlpine here has like a moment of self-reflection and she's
Mm.
addressing her emotions, specifically her emotion of being frustrated with not being able to be held accountable, and once again, this can refer to her relationship with her father, or for the matter, any other relationship. But I think
Mm.
what we've like seen in interviews and stuff is that she mainly refers to this song as written for her father, as many of her other songs.
Yeah. Also, I feel like this line specifically, it's kind of putting it out there and actually pronouncing it
Yeah.
kind of to get it into her head as well. So she's trying to kind of, self-evaluate and really understand why this is happening to her. So she's unable to accept the fact that something has happened, and she's kind of trying to reinforce the fact that it has,
I
if
think
that
it's
makes
really
sense.
funny. It's a little bit ironic because the question she's asking kind of makes it seem like she has issues with being held accountable, right?
Yeah.
Kind of similar to how you said that she's not like able to accept the fact that she's um
Yeah, but at the same
not
time,
able.
she's trying to kind of like improve, right? So she's like,
Yeah, it's
what
kind of
is my
both
problem?
at the same time.
It
She's
is, yeah.
she's also not.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. You can go ahead with the next line.
Okay. Because I play with my food and then someone else takes it away. Okay, this line particularly, I feel like it kind of reflects a tone of immaturity.
Yeah,
So she kind of has to let go of all the possible outcomes, or rather the ideal way of how things could have turned out,
right.
but as it happens, it is too late. So I feel like food can particularly symbolize missed opportunities. Like basically relating this to being told not to play with your food, I feel like is something that we've all heard as children.
Yeah.
And it's generally considered really rude to, play with your food. And some parents physically take away their child's food.
So I agree with the like parents physically taking away the child's food
Hmm.
because obviously it's not very like it's a little bit impolite to just play with your food.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I feel like commonly what people do is like when they're not interested in the conversations or they're not interested in what's happening in the moment, or for that matter if they're not interested in the food, people might just like play with it, which kind of like
Hmm.
gives an idea that the person has like a lack of awareness or lack of interest,
Hmm.
obviously.
Yeah.
That can be connected to Lizzie's avoidance, which resulted in nothing but regret at the end of the day. So
Right.
similarly, sometimes parents take away their children's toys. So it's also similar to like taking away their source of joy and taking away their source of happiness, which once again can be connected back to Lizzie McAlpine and how she's feeling regret because her source of joy, being her father, is taken away now. I really like that in the concept that it's similar to how Lizzie asked a question right before this line. So both of these things kind of get the audience and listeners thinking about what she really means.
Right.
Okay. It's so hard to believe, but I'm trying to change. Once again, we come back to the factor of Lizzie McAlpine being held accountable for whatever she's doing or whatever feeling she's having. And
Hmm.
while initially she said she has that issue with taking the blame,
Hmm.
now we kind of see that she's acknowledging this and she's trying to change and become a better person, but she's unsure if she can let go of like that kind of personality of hers or those
Hmm.
characteristics or perhaps something she learned from her father.
Yeah.
And she's hesitant to like let it go and let herself change after so many years of like having your father with you and then suddenly you're changing your
Right.
entire personality just to become a better person.
Right, that makes sense. And I feel like it also kind of symbolizes the fact that she's missed so many opportunities that could
Right.
have been, spending time with her father or creating more memories. And I feel like just the fact that it's so inevitable, like
Yeah.
the passage of time and may I say death, it's so inevitable to a point where she's having a really hard time transitioning into this like acceptance,
Yeah.
which is completely understandable, right?
I see lines in the sand, but I don't see who made them. I still listen to that band that you showed me last April. I still play with my food. I'm a child at the grown-ups table. It's so hard to believe, but right now I feel stable.
Then we go on with I see the lines in the sand, but I don't see who made them. Now, I feel like lines in the sand, they're kind of, I mean, decisive and irreversible choices. And it can also represent boundaries being set and the fact that she has no idea that over time she's set up these physical or emotional like barriers or walls to protect herself, metaphorically, but also physically distancing herself. And she's kind of, again, uncertain and unsure about how this has happened.
I want to add something, like it's very surface level, but she says, I see the
Uh-huh.
lines in the sand, but I don't see who made them. So first and foremost, it's very similar to the first line of the first verse when she says,
Mm-hmm.
I see chemtrails in the sky. And then secondly, what I thought is that, when you go to beaches, you see imprints and you see footsteps, but you don't know who made them. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I think it's similar to like what she's saying, that she sees lies in the sand, but she doesn't see who made them.
Right.
Something I thought of. I don't know if like it's right.
Right. Also, to add on to that, I feel like, again, people leaving marks or like footprints on the sand can symbolize them leaving like a part of themselves
With her.
like to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, with her, exactly. Or even in general with people, but specifically Lizzy McAlpine, I feel like her her father had such a lasting and impactful, impression on her that she kind of has these like prints on her and
Yeah.
she carries them with her, like a piece of her father.
Another thing I thought of is that like on the beach, whenever there's the waves come on the sand and it kind of like
Uh-huh.
washes everything that's like if you write something on the sand, it's like washed away by the water. So I think it's
Yeah.
similar to like when she says she sees lines in the sand, when the water washes them away, it's kind of like similar to how things created by her father might like hit different now that he's passed away, and how
Right.
um
Yeah.
like the entire concept of changes over time can affect like maybe ideas that he left with Lizzie McAlpine, or maybe
Hmm.
for the matter like any idea that he left behind with Lizzie McAlpine might like hit a little bit different, or it might be different than what he initially told Lizzie. And
That makes sense.
so I think it's like connected to how tides kind of wash away the imprints on sand.
Right. And also, I feel like her kind of physically distancing herself can also symbolize how she's taking those imprints or those like footprints with her away from the like ocean, away from the waves, so that it like stays with her, you know?
Yeah,
It doesn't get washed away. And it's kind of um her trying to hold on to it and trying to make it more permanent than it is.
yeah. Okay. I still listen to the band that you showed me last April. So, I think this line particularly for me stood out because, for many people, music is sort of like a trigger, and this can be connected to like how, um, for patients with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, music therapy is commonly used because music reaches parts of the brain that words don't. So, music is kind of like a trigger for some people. It can trigger emotions or it can trigger memories. And
Mhm.
so for many people, it's commonly used to express those emotions as well. And
Yeah.
obviously, that's why artists make music. That's why Lizzie McAlpine wrote the song to kind of um, bottle up those feelings into a song
Yeah.
and share that emotion with her listeners. It's also commonly understood that music can help you go back in time, which is, I guess,
Yeah.
what Lizzie's aim was to
Hmm.
like go back to that feeling of being with her father and going back in time for to when he was alive and spending time with him. So this reinforces her love for her father and how she's holding on to those little bits and pieces of whatever she has of him,
Hmm.
despite the fact that he's not alive anymore, or despite the fact that like that time has passed and nothing's ever the same after time has passed. Go ahead.
Okay. Then the next line, I still play with my food. I'm a child at a grown-up's table. Now, still kind of showcases that it's an ongoing and recurring event. I
Yeah.
mean, it still happens, right? And the repetition of the food metaphor kind of relates back to her immaturity and the difficulty that she's having facing life as she transitions onto like adulthood. So I
Right.
feel like a grown-up's table would be a really intimidating thing for any child, right? And then her
Yeah.
constant references or like um, allusions, I would say, to being a child kind of portrays how she feels very lost and uncertain in this big world without her like source of light or light
Yeah.
of
Guidance.
guidance.
Yeah.
Right, her father, right? So she's kind of out of place and feels like she doesn't belong, as if she's a child at a grown-up's table. So she's kind of uncomfortable or she's kind of unsure. And I feel like this description also directly links to her inner conflict of being overwhelmed by adults in this
Yeah.
scenario of being at a grown-up's table, but also in general as she kind of tackles life as a whole.
Uh-huh. So next line is, it's so hard to believe, but right now I feel stable. So one thing that you like we want to like really stress upon is the fact that she says
Mhm.
right now.
Yeah.
So obviously that refers to like momentarily feeling stable, and it's not
Uh,
like it's temporarily feeling stable. It's not an elongated feeling of stability because obviously she just lost her father. So life's kind of like flipped upside down for her. But
right.
even while singing this line, you can hear that tone of uncertainty in her words that kind of showcase how like how fleeting her confidence is, and it's not
Mhm.
like she doesn't have a steady hand.
I moved away and I grew a few inches. What a shame, I had a chance and I missed it. And there are some days when I hear that song and I hate to admit it, but I miss it, I do. Oh, I miss it, I miss you. Oh, I miss it, I miss it, I miss you. Oh, I miss it, I miss it, I miss you.
So the chorus begins with I moved away and it grew a few inches, which on surface level may symbolize physical relocation and connected to how she moved to Los Angeles in 2021 to start working on her music career. But like
Mhm.
when you dive a little bit deeper, you understand that she's kind of accepting that sign of like change, be it
Mhm.
small or big. But obviously we know by now that like smaller changes can also go a long way, like a little bit goes a long way. So
Yeah.
perhaps she's implying that she's accepting the changes that she's bringing to herself now, which is
Mhm.
which is a little bit juxtaposing to the line she said before, which is it's so hard to believe, but I'm trying to change.
Yeah, so I feel like now she actually applies those like plans and she's starting to actually take action after a lot of reconsideration and uncertainty. So she's kind of taking baby steps, if you would
Yeah,
call it that, and then again relating to the
childhood is growing.
symbolism of a child and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what a shame I had a chance and missed it. So again, a moment of reflection, of lost opportunity and possibility for connection with her father and also momentary happiness, right?
I think throughout this song, we understand that Lizzie McAlpine, the main emotion she's trying to convey is that she regrets not spending enough time with her father because the song is literally
Yeah,
called Chemtrails, which is like the traces of lines left in the air by airplanes. So,
yeah.
she's kind of saying that she can only see the aftermath after her father's gone, but she didn't get to spend enough time with him to maybe incorporate enough of him into her life or make enough memories with him. And so the only thing on her mind now is that she should have accommodated her father into her life a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So the next line is, and there are some days when I hear that song, which is once again a reflection back onto the line that said, I still listen to that band you showed me last April. Because like we discussed, music is sort of like a beacon of bringing back memories and in this sense bringing a sense of nostalgia. Moving along, she ends the chorus with I miss it, I miss you, which is repeated twice to kind of reinforce that overwhelming emotion of, I guess, regret and disappointment that she didn't spend enough time with her father. And
Uh-huh.
so for that matter, like the fact that she can't escape the fact that her father died. Like she has to accept it at one point in time. And
Right.
the way she says, I miss it, I miss you. If you pay attention to it and you, they're quite straightforward as they directly refer to the fact that she misses the time that has passed over the fact that she once again regrets the time passing since her father passed and the fact that her father is also passing along with the time that's passed since his death.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, in the post chorus, she repeats the same lines twice.
Right. And also adding on to that, I feel like at this point she has kind of internally accepted that her father is not a part of her present, but it is, I mean, he is a part of her past because she says, "Oh, I miss it, I miss you." So you, being the father, her father, was a part of her past. And despite having those lingering thoughts and feelings and parts of her father with her, I mean, she's kind of accepted that he was from her past.
Yeah.
I see chemtrails in the sky, but I don't see the plane. I know that I feel it, but I don't know the name. I play with my food, and then I throw it away. It's so hard to believe I have to grow up this way.
I see chemtrails in the sky, but I don't see the plane. Now, again, I feel like the plane is a symbol for her father, and the fact that it's kind of the source of those chemtrails, and also we could say the values or the memories instilled into her as a child, those that she carries with her every single day. You know, I guess when the sky is kind of bright and it's sunny and those chemtrails are visible, and mirroring that to her life when even in her happiest moments, all she can think of is her father. So despite having accepted, the passage of time and the passage of,
Yeah.
you know, basically her father, she kind of holds those memories close to her despite having done so, if that makes sense.
The next line is I know that I feel it, but I don't know the name. So I think once again, she makes this very relatable for the audience because it's very common for people to feel emotions and not be able to identify exactly what they're feeling.
Uh-huh.
So she's basically saying that she's unable to put a finger to exactly what emotion she's currently experiencing. I guess this can also convey like the theme of internal conflict and dilemmas and the fact that she obviously doesn't completely understand her own emotions.
Yeah. It also conveys a sense of like confusion, I would say, and the fact that there isn't just one emotion when it comes to losing a loved one, right? And I feel like a lot of listeners can relate,
Yeah.
um, because there are a lot of complex emotions that come with just losing someone. Doesn't mean it doesn't have to be like physically, it can also be emotional distance. So I guess this is probably something very relatable. All right, so hard to believe I have to grow up this way. Now, I feel like here she kind of reveals her compulsion and lack of choice, referring to the fact that she's forced to grow up this quickly and kind of mature in a way that allows her to see the various perspectives of the world. And having experienced something so traumatic at such a young age, it kind of reflects within her tone, and it was to a point where she had to navigate through adulthood without the guidance, support, love, and comfort of her father, who was ultimately her source of inspiration, we can say.
I moved out and I made some new friends. Sometimes when I shout, it feels like no one hears it. And there are some days when I think that somewhere you're watching as I grow up without you. I miss it, I miss you.
So, the final chorus showcases the subtle shift in her life and possibly that attempt of moving past things that might weigh us down or unfortunate circumstances that might otherwise creep into like every crevice and every inch in your life and possibly be a destructive force. So when she says, I moved out and I made some new friends, which it kind of makes the listeners understand that she's trying to reevaluate her life and possibly reconstruct her entire life as an attempt to move forward from past or maybe surrounding herself with people that could be like strangers to her.
And I feel like she's so um desperate, and she's in such desperation to get rid of her past, kind of, emphasis on get rid of her
Yeah.
past. She is okay with completely surrounding herself by strangers. Also, it's quite ironic that she tries to get rid of her past, or tries to move on by like being surrounded by other people. At the same time, those chemtrails or those values and just memories are, they remain with her. And then she says, sometimes when I shout, it feels like no one hears. I feel like this is a very explicit and desperate cry for help.
Yeah.
And she says, sometimes when I shout, it feels like no one hears it. So she feels isolated, kind of stranded, and emotionally and physically as well, because she's trying to navigate through adulthood, but at the same time, she's trying to protect herself by forming these like physical boundaries to prevent herself from getting hurt, right? So she doesn't want to get too attached to someone like she did with her father.
And the next line is, and there were some days when I think that somewhere you're watching. So I think beyond just like the explicit meaning, um when you go into her like previous discography, there's one of her songs titled Stupid, where she says, I don't believe in God, but she also mentions the fact that her romance feels like a sign from God. So
Mm,
it kind of portrays like her flickering belief in God itself and perhaps maybe a higher power. So
yeah.
in the same song later on, she says, it makes no sense, but it feels right, and maybe that's God. It seems that Lizzy McAlpine has a common theme of belief in a higher power, but maybe the opposite of believing that there's a higher power whenever she's feeling pessimistic. So when she
Hmm.
says, I think that somewhere you're watching, she's referring to the idea of the afterlife and perhaps being optimistic in a way that sometimes she thinks that her father is watching her
From a distance, maybe.
from a distance. Yes.
Right. And maybe the fact that she thinks her father may be watching over her, and she maybe, I don't know, maybe thinking about the fact that he might have wanted her to be happy and be successful. So she's kind of trying her best to navigate through adulthood, navigate through life the best that she can, and maybe also use and utilize those values that her father instilled into her. Kind of like a performance, the fact that she has to move on for the sake of her father.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because she's moving on from the death of her father, but for her father.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then she says, as I grow up without you, I miss it, I miss you. Now, I feel like this reflects her painful realization of leaving people in the past and the fact that she has no choice. I mean, this can be physically with her father and emotionally with other relationships that she might have had, but also I feel like from what we've analyzed here, maybe her father kind of shielded her from the outside world or from, you
Yeah,
know,
that's what I thought as
the
well. She said,
uh-huh. And then kind of the harsh externalities of growing up without a source or like a guiding figure. I mean, she's kind of lost at the grown-ups table again, and
yeah,
she misses being, not held accountable, kind of being told what to do, which is kind of ironic because as you grow up, you'd like to have more freedom and do what you want and kind
yeah,
of, make your own decisions. But at the same time, she misses when her father would tell her what to do, or, he would kind of guide her through every obstacle that she might have faced. So again, the repetition of I miss it, I miss you, reinforces her solid feelings and the fact that um, this feeling, this longing for time coming back.
Here is Elizabeth eating a big snack after being in the
I
shower
miss
for
it,
15
I
hours,
miss
7 days.
you.
She's famished, you can tell. Say goodnight.
Good night.
So here comes, which is weirdly, but it's my favorite part of the song, even though it's not actually like music, but it's sort of like a snippet that Lizzy McAlpine added into the song, where it's her father saying, "Here's Elizabeth eating a big snack after being in the shower for 15 minutes." And then say goodnight, and she says goodnight. What I find really, really perfectly fitting into the song is the fact that she adds kind of like humorous touch at the end of the song. A
Yeah,
song that's filled with such grief and such heavy emotions for a listener to process, or for that matter, for her to process. And I feel
yeah,
like Lizzy McAlpine adds a little humor into the song with this snippet of her father speaking to her,
yeah,
maybe recording her. And it kind of like serves as a distraction from the weight of the emotions that the song is portraying. And another thing
right,
I really, really liked and what I thought about it is that when the end of the song says say goodnight and then she says goodnight, is that basically considering this is a recording from when she was younger, I feel like it ties to the song a little bit more deeper because beside that, just saying goodnight is kind of like the act of, in this context, saying goodbye forever to her father.
right. Yeah, I
So
was thinking about that.
maybe like the fact that she put the words good night at the end of the song could be maybe her finally accepting the loss of her
Uh,
father and perhaps
yeah,
saying farewell and goodbye, good night to him forever.
right.
One more thing is that the line say good night, her father said that in the recording.
Yeah,
Her father telling her how to say good night is just so perfect and so fitting to how,
imperative.
yeah, honestly. And it's a little bit funny to me, not in like a humorous way, but like in such a mind-boggling way that she thought of this. And kind of like her father's pushing her and telling her to say goodnight. And it's similar to how like Lizzie might know that her father wants her to move on and live her life and wants her to say goodnight to him and goodbye to him forever and once and for all.
Yeah, and then again, I feel like saying good night or the night itself kind of brings peace and relaxation and leisure and all of those like positive connotations. And then the fact that her father's kind of demanding this as an imperative, like say good night, it's kind of, again, as you said, encouraging her to move on and, just continue life.
Maybe Lizzie McAlpine didn't do this intentionally, but I feel like it's pretty interesting to address as listeners.
Yeah.
It's something I really like because I've noticed this in a lot of songs. For example, Ordinary Things by Ariana Grande, she also adds a snippet of her grandma telling her something insightful. And I feel like it's really nice whenever I hear a snippet or perhaps not just music, but maybe a voice setting the feeling or the tone for the entire song. And personally, as a listener, I really love whenever I hear a song and I hear a snippet in it because it kind of comes as a surprise. Personally, as a listener, really, really like it. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. We've reached the end of this episode.
We hope our interpretation of the song has left chemtrails on your mind. Now, without further ado, we declare our sixth episode of Well, Lyrically Speaking as complete.
Until next time, overly analytical folks.